Hello sweet friends, and welcome to my channel Crafting with me, Indiana Jones. And today it is so amazing because I will be sewing. I know that doesn't happen very often, but I'll be joined by a lot of friends and especially my two little cats, Kuru and Luna. Let's get started. I want to thank my friend Nancy of Little Treasures by Nancy, who came up with this wonderful collaboration. I didn't realize she is an accomplished seamstress as well as a miniaturist. She does crochet. She does a little bit of everything. So please remember to check out her channel and everyone else who participated in this so amazing collaboration. As with all of my projects, we're going to need two things. Two very inquisitive and curious cats. Here they are helping me out to cut my pattern. If you've never worked with the pattern before, it's very easy. You have to cut out your pattern and then you cut your fabric. As you can see, I was having rather a difficult time, so I didn't film that process of this project. As I mentioned before, I'm using a very simple pattern that is from It's So Easy Simplicity from the 90s. This is from the vault of patterns that my mom had. So I decided to take advantage and pull out this old pattern because I knew this was easy to do, and it is a very easy and simple pattern that you can find almost anywhere, and it's a one-day simple project. So there's no zippers, there's no darts, there is nothing. Very simple. The only complicated thing was the pockets. That's about it. And I added something else because I don't know about you, but I don't like my arms exposed all the time. I know I live in Florida and stuff, but I don't know, I always like a little sleeve. So let's get started. Let's get sewing. I'm gonna say sew a lot while I'm saying sew. And here I am with my brother, not my big brother Manny, but my brother's sewing machine. And what I love about this sewing machine is there is no foot pedal. No foot pedal whatsoever. There are two cats. Again, here they are. They are, again, administrating quality control, kitty cat quality control, and it's nap time. It's time to take a break. And that's literally what I did because they were not cooperating. So I thought, let me start the day early in the morning. And literally all I did was the night before was cut out my pattern and cut out my fabric pieces. I'm using a very simple cotton fabric with this beautiful, colorful, summery design. So here what I'm doing is I'm adding the interfacing. So I'm ironing the interfacing to my collar. You have to do that for the front and the back of your collar, simply because it makes it so much easier. You don't have to hem the collar. And when you're ironing the interfacing, it's just so easy to add it on. And I always try to cut it out once I've ironed it, simply because it makes it easier for me to hold it in place. If you have never sewn anything before, don't be afraid. Try it out. Get some cheap fabric. You probably have some fabric sitting around, and practice with that. Again, as I mentioned, this is both the pattern and the fabric are from my mother's vault. So she would be very happy to know that I'm using the items that she has left behind. And her skills are living on. She and my grandmother both taught me how to sew at a very young age. And although I've done a lot of costumes and what have you, I don't take the time to really sew, daily wear. I will show you at the end an evening dress that I did create. I started on it last year and I finished it this year, so I couldn't use it for this project. But I did create my own evening gown and I'm very proud of it. That project, however, took around 2 weeks of work. So I thought I would start with something easy. Once my back and my front collars, and these are the collars that are going to be on the inside of your dress, this is going to produce like a hem for your dress. Once I have them both ironed to the interfacing, I am going to now sew them together in what's going to be the shoulder. Whenever you sew anything, remember to press down your seams. That's why I'm so happy to have this tiny little mini iron from HTV Ront. Now, I have already sewn the top of the dress, the shoulders of the dress. So all I have to do is pin together my collar so it'll be easy to add to my dress. I hope you like the pattern I picked up. I couldn't think of anything more fantastic, flowery, and Florida-like than this dress. So it's going to be like a mini sundress. And I wish I had more fabric to create flounces for my sleeves, but I did replace that with something else. And I apologize in advance that this isn't really a step-by-step tutorial, but to follow any pattern, like I was saying before, if you're having difficulty, if you're not very secure with your sewing prowess, it's very easy to get one of those very simple and easy to use patterns and learn how to cut the pattern, how to cut the fabric from the pattern, and then to follow the instructions in the pattern itself. You won't feel alone once you go step by step with how the pattern is supposed to be cut, how it's supposed to be pinned together, and what goes first. What do you sew on first, and what do you create afterwards? Now for this dress, I do create some pockets, but I hate to tell you that eventually I took the pockets out. So even though I'm an experienced crafter, sewer, seamstress, whatever you want to call it, I still make a lot of mistakes. And especially when I've been out of practice, I still make a lot of mistakes. So here I have already sewn the inside collar to hold down the collar. And not only do I sew it onto the collar itself, but I also do stitching around the collar so that it stays in place. It's just it's very close to the edge of the collar itself, but it gives it such a finished look, as you can see there. There you go. You see? Now I will sew some little dots, or I will just sew down the back collar and the front collar so they don't lift up every time I take the dress off, or as you can see right here, I'm just doing a few little stitches just to make sure that the collar doesn't move around when I'm putting it on or I'm taking it off. Very easy to do. Next, I want to add a ribbon because it is a dress that has no form whatsoever. There are no darts, there's no waistline, so I wanted to have something in the dress. It doesn't really call for it. It does have the option to put that in. Now again, I didn't have enough fabric to create a tie back from the same fabric as the dress, but I found this beautiful blue, aqua blue ribbon, and I thought that would be just fine to use that. So here all I'm going to do is sew it to one side of the inside of the dress. So I'm sewing it on the opposite side because I'm sewing it on, so it's inside out. Exactly. The fabric is inside out, so whatever stitches you see, you're not going to see on the outside of the dress. This is going to be on the inside seams of the dress. Again, just follow the instructions that you have in your dress pattern and you will not fail. You don't need to have a very fancy machine either. They're very inexpensive machines. I actually bought this one at Goodwill and it was incredibly cheap. I believe it was $25 because I didn't know exactly how it worked. But as I said before, what I love about this sewing machine, it does not require a foot pedal. It took me a while to get used to it, but once I did, it was just so cool to just be able to press a button and focus on just directly on my sewing right there on the machine and not having to be pushing a pedal, and I can stand up and sew. I don't need to sit down and be pushing a pedal. So this was very, very easy to do. And all I'm doing now is sewing the sides of the dress. As I told you, this is a very simple dress, so it goes by very, very quickly. Now I had cut these flaps because I was going to add a pocket, and I do eventually add a pocket. I waited until afterwards. As you can see, I already have my pockets right there beside me, ready to go. I don't know what happened. I don't know where the footage is of me actually making the pockets, but many dresses have patterns for pockets. Now, if you're like me and this specific dress pattern did not have the pocket pattern, you can find pocket patterns on the internet. So don't worry, you can pick pocket pattern right there off of the internet, so you don't have to worry about it at all. And one of my first ideas for this video was to create a video of just making pockets for your pocketless dresses, because there's nothing more annoying than to be happy with a dress and not have any pockets. Now, here I am attaching the pockets. Let me tell you a word of warning when it comes to pockets. I I don't know about you, but sometimes I feel like some pockets are a little too high on dresses. So I was going to be clever and not put the pocket where the dress told me to, not where the pattern pocket was supposed to be patterned. I decided to put it a little lower. And I regret that decision, and I'll tell you why. The pockets should be placed, the opening to the pockets should be placed somewhere between the hip and the waist. I put my pocket right along my hip line. That was a disaster because once you put on the dress, I mean, you can see here I'm making the pocket looks fine. I'm putting the pocket, see how it's, inside out, but once you pull the dress out and it's the right side out, all you have to do is push the little pocket in and you got your little pocket. It's so simple to do. But like I said before, I measured it lower than it usually is simply because I always felt like, they always put it too high. Well, like I said before, there's a reason for that. The pocket, because it was on exactly at my hip, would open and it looked like my hips were way hippier than they were and it looked bulky. So even though I'm showing you how to put a pocket in, okay? But then I wasn't happy with I was perplexed by my pockets, so I had to take out my pockets. It was not a pocket of pretty sights, I can tell you that. But it was easy enough to do with a seam ripper. If you don't know what a seam ripper is, it's this little contraption that works like a mini scissor, but it helps to rip the seams of any dress. If you're going to replace the pockets of your dress, I suggest that you get a seam ripper to help you open the seams of your dress to be able to install a pocket. So although you're seeing that I'm installing the pocket, I do deinstall the pocket, if that makes any sense, because my hips were too big. That's all. Happens to all of us. Maybe I should have put the pockets in the front, but you're usually supposed to put pockets where the seam is. I still might add pockets to the front of the dress if I have enough fabric. That's an idea. There you go. Although this dress did not have any kind of sleeves, I decided to make sleeves of my own. So here I'm adding the sleeves. The pattern didn't have any sleeves. Where did I get the sleeve pattern? I've pilfered it from another pattern. It was pattern pilfering. That's all I can tell you. So here you can see that I've added the sleeve. There it is. And now I'm going to decide how long I want to have the sleeve. Now I'm just sewing the side of the sleeve, which actually makes the sleeve. I know it seems silly because it seems so much easier just to make it with sleeveless, but like I said before, I don't like wearing sleeveless dresses that much, and I thought this would be a cute dress to wear on summery Sunday afternoons, especially when I go to church. And it's always freezing in church. I don't know about you, but there you can see that's where I got the pattern for the sleeve from Sew Easy. Now, like I said before, I didn't have enough fabric to make a flounce, and here is Luna, again, my quality control kitty, making sure that I'm using all of my resources to make a pretty dress. So I did find in my mother's stash this wonderful lace, and I thought, that is long enough for my dress. And all I'm doing here is gathering the lace so it'll be easy for me to attach it to the armhole, which it was. It was very, very easy. But here you go. I am ruffling the lace. Now there is, and I have it, a lace or a ribbon ruffling foot. A ruffling foot. Yes, there is such a thing. And it's a foot that I have to add to my sewing machine foot. And that would ruffle the fabric as I sew, so I wouldn't have to ruffle it by my hands. But I still haven't learned how to use it, so I didn't want to take my chances. But I will try to use it for my next sewing collaboration, hoping there'll be more. So all I'm going to do now is attach the lace to the dress itself and make sure that the lace is covered up nicely with the sleeve, and just making sure that, once again, whenever you sew something together, to make sure that the inseams the seams are pressed so it doesn't create any bulk, because that can create some bulk, especially when you add the sleeves. So here's little Luna watching me as I am sewing another project. I actually created a dress, an evening gown for myself, I should say, for the mayor's ball, and I did this a few weeks ago. I actually had started it a year ago, so I didn't film anything because I wasn't part of any kind of sewing challenge. But there you can see the results of my hard work, and that was probably 2 weeks of work, but it was well worth it. I felt so happy. Thank you once again to Nancy of Little Treasures by Nancy for inviting me to be a co-host for this collaboration, and for all the other crafters that joined us today. And thanks to you once again for spending some time with me today. I hope I've inspired you to get back to crafting and to subscribe to my channel for more fun. Again, thanks so much, and remember to stay safe, be kind, God bless each and every one of you, and remember to live the adventure and create something beautiful today.